It started like any other morning on a stretch of highway. No one really talks about a waitress at a truck stop diner noticed the same rig parked out front again, engine still warm, coffee cup half full on the dash, but the driver was gone. No one had seen him leave, and something smelled off. They found her body 400 miles away, wrapped in a motel bedspread, stuffed behind a dumpster. Her shoes were missing. Her name was Brenda. No one connected it to the other bodies. Not yet, because this wasn't one killer in one town, it was a ghost, riding the interstate, a man who crisscrossed America's heartland for years, hunting in plain sight. He was known only by what he left behind, the truck stop killer. The man behind the wheel, his name was Robert Ben Rhoades. To most people, he was just another trucker in the endless flow of diesel and steel that kept America moving. With salt and pepper hair, aviator glasses, and a calm demeanor, he looked like any other long-haul driver you'd see fueling up at a Flying J, or sitting quietly in a corner booth at a Waffle House. But behind his quiet smile and steady hands was a darkness so disturbing it still haunts the FBI. Born in 1945 in Council Bluffs, Iowa, Robert's childhood was scarred by instability. His father, a military man, committed suicide while Robert was still young. That trauma followed him silently, invisibly shaping the calm mask he would wear for decades. He joined the Marines after high school, but his time in service didn't ground him. Instead, it gave him discipline and the ability to disappear. By the 1980s. He was crisscrossing the country as a long-haul trucker. Thousands of miles of empty highway became his hunting ground. He drove a Peterbilt with a customized sleeper cab, one that concealed more than just a mattress and mini-fridge. Inside was what the FBI would later describe as a mobile torture chamber. The highway of ghosts. His pattern was subtle, his victims scattered. Rhoades didn't stay in one city. He didn't use the same method every time. It made him hard to catch and even harder to notice. Many of his victims were young women, hitchhikers, runaways, or sex workers, women who wouldn't be missed right away. He had a type, vulnerable, unprotected, passing through. And he had the perfect cover. Truckers were everywhere and invisible at the same time. They lived in motion, without routine, without pattern. Just like him. In 1985, a teenage girl named Candace Walsh disappeared. She had been hitchhiking with her boyfriend, and the two were picked up by a friendly trucker who offered them a ride. A few days later, her boyfriend's body was found, beaten, strangled, dumped. Candace was gone. Months later, her body was discovered in a ditch. She had been tortured. No suspect was identified. More women went missing. More bodies turned up, but they were in different counties, different states, and police departments weren't connecting the dots. This was before centralized databases, before DNA matching across jurisdictions. Each case was a tragic, isolated file in a metal cabinet somewhere. Until 1990, the girl in chains. It was an Arizona state trooper who made the mistake that caught the monster. On a quiet stretch of highway outside Casa Grande, he spotted a tractor trailer, parked awkwardly on the shoulder with its hazard lights flashing. He pulled over, thinking the driver might be in distress. Instead, he found a half-naked woman in the cab, chained to the wall by her neck. She was 18. Her name was Regina Walters. Rhoades tried to play it cool, said it was just a misunderstanding, that she was his girlfriend, but the trooper saw the fear in her eyes and the bruises. He called for backup. Rhoades was arrested on the spot. What investigators found inside the cab was something out of a horror movie. Whips, chains, ropes, handcuffs, Polaroids, hundreds of them. Photos of women, some alive, some not, some posing, some clearly in distress. Many were never identified. The photo that haunted America, one photo, changed everything. It was of Regina Walters, taken just before her death. In it, she's standing in an abandoned barn wearing a black dress, her curly hair wet, her face a frozen mask of fear. Behind her, rotting wooden beams and scattered hay. The image would later be used in FBI training, not for shock value but to teach new agents what real evil looks like. Rhoades had murdered her weeks before his arrest. He kept the photos as trophies, as proof. In his logbooks, investigators began mapping his routes, where he stopped, where it poured, victims went missing. The map stretched from Texas to Illinois, from Nevada to Florida, highways marked in red, rest stops circled, motel receipts, gas stations. Piece by piece, the ghost became a man. The trial and beyond. Rhoades was charged with the kidnapping and murder of Regina Walters. He pled guilty in 1994 to avoid the death penalty. But as the FBI dug deeper, more names surfaced, more cases reopened. They estimate he may have killed over 50 women, but only 23 have enough circumstantial evidence to be linked on. In 2012, he was sentenced to another life term, this time for the 1985 murder of Candace Walsh. He never showed remorse, never confessed. He's currently serving life without parole in Illinois. But many believe he knows exactly where more bodies are, and that he'll take that secret to the grave. Because for years, Robert Ben Rhoades wasn't just a killer. He was a ghost, and America never saw him coming. The victims without names. The FBI believes Rhoades may have killed more than 50 women, yet to this day the names of many of those victims remain unknown. Their photos, some smiling, some terrified, were found among his belongings. Faces never matched to missing persons reports. Girls never reported missing. Some were likely never even searched for it in the years following his arrest. Investigators continued revisiting cold cases from the 1980s and early 90s. In states like Nevada, Arizona, Arkansas, and Missouri, unsolved murders of women and girls began getting fresh eyes. Detectives quietly rechecking evidence, examining truck stop surveillance tapes, gas station logs, and even handwriting on old motel registers. But Rhoades has refused to cooperate. He has never confessed to a single murder beyond the ones for which he was tried. Not one apology, not one explanation, not even a whisper of regret for families of missing women. That silence is louder than any scream. Inside the mind of a ghost, psychologists who have studied serial offenders say Rhoades fits a rare and terrifying profile, not just because of what he did, but how he managed to do it without ever attracting attention. He was calm, intelligent, patient. He had a clean driving record, paid his taxes, never lost his commercial license. He was a man of routine in a job without any, and that made him invisible. One profiler from Quantico described Rhoades as the perfect predator in the perfect environment. He wasn't chaotic, he wasn't sloppy, and unlike other serial killers, he didn't crave fame. He didn't want to be known, he wanted to disappear. That made him far more dangerous. Prison doesn't talk. Rhoades sits in a maximum security prison in Illinois. He rarely speaks. He never gives interviews. The last photo of him is decades old. He is, in every sense, a forgotten figure. But he is not forgotten by the families. In 2020, a woman named Amanda, whose sister vanished from a truck stop in Louisiana in 1987, told a podcast interviewer, "We never got a body, but we got his route log, and it passed through our town that week. That's all we know." That's the kind of closure many families have had to settle for. A coincidence, a suspicion, a name in a newspaper, not a grave. What we still don't know, was Rhoades really acting alone? Some investigators have wondered whether he ever shared victims with other truckers, whether there was a larger network, or at least knowledge among others on the road, that something was happening. None have ever come forward. We also don't know how many women may still be out there, buried in remote fields, dumped along highways, or hidden in forgotten ditches, places that no one has searched, places only he knows. And now, time is running out. Rhoades is in his late 70s. He may not live much longer, and when he dies, whatever truth he's holding on to, it dies with him. A nation that missed the signs. Perhaps the most haunting part of this story isn't what Rhoades did, but that for more than a decade no one noticed. The bodies were there, the signs were there, but the country wasn't looking. It took a random traffic stop to end it. Not a tip, not a warrant. Just one officer doing his job on a lonely stretch of Arizona road. That should scare all of us. Final thoughts and viewer reflection. We tell these stories not to glorify evil, but to remember its victims. To remember that Candace Walsh had dreams of moving to California, that Regina Walters loved dance, that the girls in those Polaroids weren't just faces, they were lives. They mattered, and so did the silence that let this man go unnoticed for years. So now, we ask you, our viewers, do you think there are more like him still out there? How many more truckers are on the road with stories no one would believe? Tell us in the comments. Was Rhoades a lone redditor, or part of something bigger? And if this story shook you, if it made you pause, help us keep telling them. Subscribe to America's Hidden Crimes for more real, hard-hitting stories. Like this video if you believe these victims deserve to be remembered. Share this with someone who should know what happened out there on America's highways, because evil doesn't always wear a mask. Sometimes it drives a truck.